Good morning, everyone. I'm Pauline Chung with the San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to Business Essentials this morning. Today's speaker is Kathy Faenzi. She's a clinical gerontologist with Faenzi Associates. And Kathy is an advocate and a consultant in the field of aging. Kathy initially meets with clients for a thorough consultation to explore challenging situations and goals for aging successfully. Following the discovery session, she can provide a clinical assessment to develop a working action plan focused on immediate and long-term solutions for the care recipient. Kathy provides compassion and a deep understanding of how the aging process affects both the individual and family members. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy. We also are streaming live on Facebook. Please put your questions in the chat. I'll monitor that, and stay muted while Kathy speaks. Thank you very much. Take it away, Kathy.
Okay, let me share my screen. Go in here. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Pauline, for inviting me to Business Essentials. And I'm hoping that this topic of interest will hit home with some of you, all of you, and you'll be able to share this with some of your clients, your family members going forward. So whether you're already a family caregiver or you're being introduced to this role by a sudden change or a crisis affecting a loved one, families often need to come together as a group and to make the well sound out, thought out decisions. So it doesn't have to be difficult. As you can see, we have meaningful, involved families. You can look at family engagement, all the different things that go into working with the family. I'm also going to touch on options to protect your loved one during a pandemic. Okay. So 2020 has been and continues to be an enormous year for change. These challenges have personally affected us as an individual and on a family as a whole. As you can see, we have numerous fires going on in California, which has displaced a lot of our family members. We have the election coming up, a division in our country. This is all things that have really affected our physical and emotional well-being. COVID-19 pandemic is an unparalleled situation and excessively impacting our communities. And the greatest risk, I feel, and everyone feels, is the vulnerable, beautiful older generation that we're here to help. I'd like to go through some very simple statistics. Now, these statistics are only based on a comparison to the 18 and 29-year-olds. There's numerous statistics out there on the internet, but I wanted to show just briefly from 65-year-olds to 74, how 5 times higher they're more apt to be hospitalized and 90 times higher than the 18 to 29-year-old to result in death. And as you go up in age, you can see that the 75 to 84 are 8 times higher for hospitalization and 220 higher in death. But our oldest generation, 85 plus, is 13 times higher for hospitalization. And they may have some pre-existing conditions going on as well, but they're 630 times higher to result in death. Therefore, we're really trying very hard to keep them safe in their own home, or as assisted livings are doing, trying to keep them in isolated or social distancing, as you will, in the facilities. In addition to the medical complications and a higher risk of mortality, we also have the crisis, which is affecting behavioral challenges, our mental health. Our older generation is experiencing a higher risk of social isolation, financial challenges, illness, grief and loss. And what I've seen on the rise is depression and anxiety, is that fear of the unknown. What's going to happen next? Is this where my life is ending up? Do I really want to continue to live? all those questions that we're personally asking ourselves because we don't know. And so we may be asking, as our family members are, how do we cope? How can we cope when we're managing everything in front of us and at the same time needing to make the best decisions for our older generation and our loved ones under this immense pressure? So I kind of take a look at the four quadrants of our holistic ability in our body, our mind, our emotional, and our behavior. If you look at all of this, you can see just by looking at each one of these quadrants, all the different symptoms that is coming up with each one of us. And I know for myself, I'm feeling a different type of stress. There's the healthy stress, but there's also that stress where we have to be conscious of taking care of ourselves and doing things different to support our holistic balance, if you will. So, what I'm going to be doing today is focusing on our senior population, but I don't want it to go unnoticed and that I don't recognize how difficult it may be for some of you who are balancing your work at home with little ones, with your adolescent children, even your teenagers and college students who are facing their own physical and mental challenges of social distancing, increased isolation, and online school. We are all in an age of intense multitasking. And as we become family caregivers, we're trying to balance ourselves, our families, while we're fielding 911 calls to our loved ones, where they may be staying in their own home with or without a caregiver, or they may be in an assisted living or a long term care facility. So, as a clinical gerontologist consulting and providing care management for the past 17 years, I have facilitated many family meetings to collaborate, to problem solve, and to look at solutions for supporting those older clients. And most of them are their own family members, it could be their spouse, or it could be just a neighbor. But we're going to really concentrate on families today that are helping their loved ones during the pandemic. So I would like to start with some of the best practice tips that I offer when I'm meeting with the families, but also things to think about as you're putting together a meeting for the family to discuss what we can do to make a difference in our loved one's life. So the first thing, as we all know, is we need to be prepared. So advanced preparation will make a difference in the success of the meeting. So one of the things I would suggest is to have one point of contact in the family. Often this is an individual that is closer to the loved one that or the person that we are trying to support. And they should be the one that will enlist all the other family members to share their concerns, to share how they feel that they can be a part of a united front to support that loved one. What roles are they able to take? And how do they personally feel about stepping in to being a part of this process? Then we would set up a Zoom call, any way that you want to get together, a televideo conference, whatever it takes. Some of our families, as we know, they're spread all over the country now. And so it's not always easy, especially during this time, to be able to meet in person. So, but if you can, that's great. You meet in person. And then what we want to do is we want to really stay focused on the challenges of our loved one and not dwell on past family conflicts. We keep it positive in a positive environment. And we also want to make sure that we have an atmosphere of trust and honesty, and we honor that all the way through. Then we would set up dates and we would follow through. And then we would either go to the family member with just one person, or we would go as a family, as a united front. Now, we don't want to intimidate, and we don't want the individual to feel like they're being ganged up on. So we want to move to the second part, which is the second one is treat your loved one's emotions with respect. So if the individual is cognitively able to make their own decisions and be able to be a part of the decision-making process, please, they need to be. Allow them to voice their opinions. This will really help support a successful buy-in. So you want to allow them to feel their feelings, their worry, their stress. They may be losing their independence. Now, many of them may be in denial, and most likely they will be, because everyone I know that I work with, families, the loved one is always saying, well, everybody else needs the help. I'm just fine. Just leave me alone. I'll be okay. Um, so we need to honor that independence, and we need to also honor that they're able to take risks. Even during negotiation, they need to feel heard. So make sure that you give them that opportunity to speak their heart and speak their mind. So third is to treat the family member's emotion with respect. So many of the family members, when they come together, or even in their own selves, are overwhelmed. They may have increased stress, as I talked about early. They may be worried and angry at the care recipient. They have unfinished business. Not every individual, I look at my own family, each one of my siblings has a different relationship, or had a different relationship with my mom and with my father. So you can't expect everyone to feel the same about the person that you're trying to help. There may be dementia that has been diagnosed, and the family members are not educated on what that means, and they may be angry. They're not sure how to cope with it. And it brings up a lot of animosity. And unfortunately, it can bring up feelings that are not healthy. So, what I suggest to my family members is to really take an honest self assessment of themselves on their own personal feelings and attitudes toward that care recipient, and really acknowledge whether or not they can be objective, and whether or not they're able to create a positive atmosphere or an outcome for all concerned. So if you share your thoughts really respectfully in an environment, then it will work. If you are not able to do that, then it's really important to bring in a third party professional. There are many individuals out there in the community that can help you with this process. And one of the things I try to share with my families, especially the leader, or the one that we have noted as being the point person, I would tell them, if you go first, if you go in and you're totally vulnerable and you share your fears, your worries, your concerns, it is like a light that opens up, and it really does allow other family members to become more vulnerable and take part of the realness that you're experiencing and you're sharing with them. It can be a very healing moment with families. And I've seen families really come together that have been just totally at ends with each other, but I've seen healing happen. And that's really a beautiful thing when you're all meeting together. Number 4 is investigate all options and discuss the best ones. Choices offer everyone more control and are extremely empowering. So always provide a couple of options to your care recipient or your loved one, and keep it simple. Don't over talk it. Keep it really simple so that you don't confuse the issues. And because what happens is this will provide a sense of control, and it will reduce the resistance. Now, not every, as I said before, care recipient is going to receive this positively. So what are we doing? We're planting seeds. We're just, it's part of our approach to just plant a seed, remember to stay positive, and take it slow. And then number 5 is recognize that taking risks is everyone's right. Even though the family may see that there's needs or there are concerns or there's safety issues that need to be dealt with, it is the right of every individual who has mental competence to make that decision for themselves and to take a risk, as long as they're not putting anyone else at risk, are not a danger to themselves or others. So again, we're powerless. So we want to recognize that and again go back to being influential and planting those seeds with a loving, supportive conversation with them. So another suggestion on this part that I'd like to say is that when a family member, if you could get one family member to discuss the fear of the what ifs, or the safety concerns. For instance, here's an example. You've got a bathroom rug that has been in there for 20, 30 plus years. And now how many times I've seen that over and over again. It doesn't have a grip. It is a fall risk waiting to happen. So if you were to bring up that conversation and shift it to, Mom, Dad, what if you happen to slide and fall and hit your head on the toilet or on the tub? What if that happens? Then we're going to have an injury that we have to take care of. We don't want that for you. However, the conversation then turns to care options, and it may help get that care recipient to look at it in a different way, as that you're coming from a way of protecting them. When mentally incompetent to make informed decisions, we definitely have to step in. If they're a risk to themselves or others, we have to get help. We have to maybe get a medical diagnosis. Sometimes there's temporary conservatorships that have to happen. There's the adult protective services. There's aging adult services that can help you and support you. So anything that you need to do to take, it's called parenting the parent. You really need to make sure that you're supporting them and taking the responsibility to help them. So in summary, I'd just like to say a family meeting is not always easy. However, it's the best way to share. You try to stress the importance of being objective. You validate all the members in the family and also the care recipient. You help them share their concerns and opinions. And you want to be engaged in a positive dialogue with your loved one and uncover solutions that lead to the best decisions to improve the care for your loved one. So I'd like to now slide over to options to protect our loved one during this pandemic. We all know that health experts advise us to protect ourselves from the spread of COVID-19. Some of the things we know we should be doing: social distancing, washing our hands, wearing a mask, staying at home, et cetera, et cetera. All those things, it's really important that we really practice these suggestions. But let's talk about the older generation and how we can protect them. The pandemic is really socially disconnecting our loved ones from the families and from their friends, who most often are their vital support for really receiving connection to the outside world, giving them hope, sharing love, and it is the key to a successful aging process. We need each other. So there are a few points that I wanted to discuss. One is the isolation. Now we know that many are isolated. As you can see this lady looking out the window. How often have I seen, as I walk my own neighborhood, individuals just glaring out their window? Some of them may have caregivers, others may be alone. The bottom part is they're disconnected. So we want to offer FaceTime or social video connection. I know I've set up a weekly connection with a lot of my care recipients that I work with. We want to be able to, if they're in an assisted living, we want to be able to work with the activity coordinator there so that you can get on their list and you can go see them if they have distant visits, or you can talk to them weekly. Being socially isolated does not mean you have to stay inside. You can go outside and sit in your garden. You can sit on your front porch and wave to others in the neighborhood. Any way you can be engaged by not actually participating with another close up is really a good way to stay connected. We're doing gardening with people. There's their backyard. Anything that brings joy is really helpful. In an assisted living, it's limited, but if you can create something for them, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then I have a lady that is doing volunteer opportunity in her assisted living. Is she's a little bit more coherent and has the ability to help others in the assisted living memory unit. And so she's going and she's reading to them and engaging them, and it gives her a sense of purpose. We also can, for nutrition, many of our individuals are not getting the food, or they're malnutrition. They're not getting the right foods for themselves. They're not drinking enough fluids. So there are things that we can do. We can set up all kinds of different grocery deliveries. There's, Grubhub, DoorDash, Instacart. There's all kinds of ways to receive your groceries without going into the store. But if there is an individual that can move and can drive and go out, we have specific senior shopping days. And so that would be my advice for them to go out and spend the time with other seniors with their gloves, with their mask, with or without a caregiver, and do their shopping and then go home. So the less people around them, the better. And then, of course, you can grow your own vegetables. And what some of my family members are doing is they're actually planning meals together. So they're FaceTiming, and they may be cooking together, or they may be eating together. So anything you can do to support good nutrition is valuable. For medical and mental health protection, we want to encourage our older adults to ask for help. Now, some of them will. I have some that will call me and say, "Oh, I'm not feeling good. I'm more depressed. I need help." They will recognize it. But we need to take the time as a family member to recognize the different behaviors and the different physical challenges our loved ones are having. So, telemed visits with our primary care physician or specialist, I would suggest all of the families to set up whatever kind of online health program. Kaiser has one. Some of our hospitals, different Sutter, Stanford, they all have a My Health Online. So this will be a way that you can communicate with your physicians. You can communicate and keep your primary care physician for your loved one engaged or educated on how your loved one's doing. And then please, if you have a chance, get an extra 30-day supply of medication. We do not know what is going to happen. I have already seen that some medications are backlogged. You know, just be prepared, especially in California, you have fires, as I said before. You have different circumstances that you may need to have an extra supply of medications. Right now, flu shots are given. I think it's really important that everyone have a flu shot. Now, this is an individual decision, but assisted livings and memory facilities and long-term care are having flu shots available to them. So if you have a loved one, you probably have already received a form that would say, yes, I would love for you to provide a flu shot to my loved one. And then Walgreens and different places like that are having them. Again, go out when there's least people out. Early morning for your seniors is the best time. And then you can connect with social or support groups. I have a gentleman who is about 20 years in sobriety. He has been in AA for years, and this is his lifeline. So I had asked the family to purchase a iPad and researched, and he gets to go to his AA meeting every week. And there's also behavioral counselors and faith-based groups, anything that can bring support that will help someone with hope. And then there's sharing stories, reading inspirational stories. I have a book here that I love. It's called Morning Affirmations by Jennifer Williamson. And it's 200 phrases for an intentional and open-hearted start of the day. So I share a lot of those types of short statements to our loved ones or to our families, so that they can help reduce the anxiety and help reduce the fear on a day-to-day basis. And then there's always prayer for those who are faith-based. Physically, it's a given. Sit and Be Fit tapes. There is a Sit and Be Fit program on Channel 9 and or Channel 10 in the mornings for our seniors. You can go out into an assisted living, into the courtyard if they're giving that permission to do so, and do your own exercise. This woman takes it on for herself to do her own leg lifts. Walking, again, as I said, it's pretty basic how we can stay physically fit. But I want to really put an emphasis on not only the stretching, but our breathing, our breath, being in the moment. Breathing brings calmness. It brings an overall sense of support and engagement, of calmness, love, and inner being. So I think that's really important. So going forward, and one last part is to help people stay creative. So a goodie bag is fabulous. Decorate a bag, get a fun bag, and just fill it up with all kinds of mental and physical crafts. Michael's has a lot of things. Go online and look at things that you can do that they can make. Maybe they can make ornaments for the holidays. Maybe they can make gifts for their grandkids. Purchase a CD player. I had a lady call me and said that she goes, man, I'm really missing some of my music. And I think that would really help me. And so I bought her, she gave me a list of all her music that she liked, from Johnny Cash to the Beatles. And she didn't have a CD player, bought her a very simple one. The family helped get that to her. And she now, when she is getting really anxious, she'll go and she'll listen to her music. It really helps. Sending happy cards, animal cards, any kind of card. People love receiving something in the mail that they can actually look at and read, and just give them a little sense of, I'm thinking of you today. And then one of the things that families are doing right now are they're watching movies, not necessarily together, but separately. And then they'll do a FaceTime or video chat to discuss what the movie's about. And it brings forth intellectual conversation. It keeps the mind active, and it keeps that person feeling like they are tuned in to enjoying something with family, so they don't have to feel that they're alone. And always, always celebrate our fun holidays. So in closing, I'd like to talk about our loving awareness. We all are loving awareness within us. The only thing we never get enough of is love. And the only thing we never give enough of is love. That's by Henry Miller. So we talk about what we can do for our loved ones. We can be strong advocates for them. We can make sure that their needs are getting met. We listen with empathy. We validate them, and we honor their feelings, and we honor how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. We pay attention, and we do what we need to do to support them. But most important for all family members and for professionals, we have to challenge the protocols There are many assisted livings out there and different long-term care that having to follow the CDC guidelines. They're having to be able to do what they feel best for their community because it is such closed communities where not one gets sick, but many get sick. But let's challenge that to be respectful and help our greatest generation and to make sure that they're being able to leave their room and get some fresh air, that they're being able to have the connection that they need as a human being. There are uncertain times for all of us, and I believe each one of us today knows one elderly individual in our family or not, who are living alone, who is isolated, and they may be struggling with loneliness, depression, but more importantly, hopelessness and a feeling of not being loved and forgotten. So I challenge all of you to implement any of these ideas and to acknowledge and validate our beautiful older generation, taking a small part of your day to day to listen to another, their concerns, will not only help you feel loved and help them feel loved, but it also will empty your heart and refill it with more unconditional love that we can give to our own family members, ourselves, and to our older generation. So I hope this has been helpful. And I really do have a compassionate place in my heart for all of us going through this uncertain time. But I do know that because I work with the older generation, that we all need to collaborate together to make a difference. And I know each of us have something that we can give and that we can support those that are in need. So thank you very much.